Hello, creative and crafty people. I hope y'all are doing well today. First off, I just want to say that for those of you who follow me, I'll be taking a break for the next 2 weeks to spend time with my family over the holidays. But don't worry, I'll be back in the new year to create some more fun new things. Today, I'm going to show you how I make this fun link bracelet made with silver plated copper wire and Labradorite beads. You can use whichever type of wire or beads you'd like to use. For the bracelet in this video, I'm making it to be 6 inches in length. So if you need yours longer or shorter, you need to adjust your materials accordingly to make it the length that you'd like it to be. Instructions on how to do this will be in the video description down below. So as we get ready to create this bracelet, remember, this is your creation and you get to create it the way you like. Each piece of jewelry is unique, just like us. We are all unique and created beautifully. If you'd like to learn how I created this fun bracelet, then stick around and let's get creating.
My copper life, my copper dream, shaping the world with a copper gleam. Bend it, twist it from the heart, every creation a piece of art.
The materials you're going to need are 20 gauge wire, 10 pieces cut at 6 centimeters each. You'll need 1 piece of 18 gauge wire cut at 4.5 centimeters. You're going to need 10 6mm Labradorite beads. You'll need a pair of chain nose pliers, a pair of looping pliers, a pair of flush cutters. You'll need a chasing hammer, a bench block, a cup burr or a file. A cup burr has the little cup on the end of it that deburrs the end of your wire. So you can just use a file if you don't have a cup burr. If you didn't catch or you missed something in this materials list, you can either go back and rewatch this part of the video, or you can check out the materials list in the description down below. Now let's get started on this project. To get started, we're going to grab one of our 20 gauge wires and the looping pliers. We're going to grab that wire between the 2 and 3mm mandrels on these looping pliers, and we're going to wrap that wire around the 2mm mandrel. We're going to wrap it all the way around until the end of the wire meets back with itself. Just like that. Just make sure there's no space there. Next, we're going to take the tail end of this wire and we're going to twist it or turn it down until it hits up against that 3mm mandrel. And then we're going to bend the tail end of that wire straight down from your loop at the top. So now we've made a little eye pin. With our chain nose pliers, I'm going to straighten that out. Sometimes it's a little bent or wonky, so we're just going to flatten that little eye pin section there, or that loop at the top of our wire. And there you can see we're all nice and straight and ready for the next part. Now I'm going to grab one of my 6mm Labradorite beads. And we're just going to pop that right onto the tail end of the wire and push it all the way up against our loop. Now we're going to turn that loop so that we can't see the whole of the loop. So we're going to turn it so that we're just seeing the side of it. You want to make sure that the back of this loop is toward your back of your piece. So where it ends, it's going to be at the back of your piece. Now taking the tail end of our wire, we're going to bend it down at a 90-degree angle. Just like that. And that locks that bead right in there. Next, we're going to grab our looping pliers. And we're going to grab the wire between the 4 and 5mm mandrels. And we're going to wrap the tail end of the wire around the 5mm mandrel. So just around that 5mm. So here I'm going to start to wrap it, and then I'm going to roll my mandrel in over the top of the bead in the loop. We want it to be centered right over the top of that hole. And then we're going to continue wrapping our loop all the way around that mandrel, nice and snug and tight, and just slightly past where the wires intersect each other. Now we're going to pull our mandrel out of the loop. And with our chain nose pliers, I'm going to grab a good majority of this loop. Just like that. Then I'm going to grab the tail end of my wire and I'm going to bring it around to the back and then back up to the front. So one complete full wrap. And there it is from the top view. And now with my flush cutters, I'm going to flush cut the end of this wire. I'm going to flush cut it back just a little bit, not right where it meets up with the new loop we just made. We're going to leave about 1.5 centimeters of wire that we're going to cut off. So here you can see I've made like a little J. So I'm going to close that little loop off to meet up with itself, just like so. That just makes that little loop nice and tight and small right up against itself. And now, as you can see here, my loop is a little bit off to the side. So grabbing my looping pliers, I'm going to reinsert those right into the loop and I'm going to twist that loop back into place. I want it to be directly under. And there you can see we've got it all lined up. Next, we're going to grab the bench block and our chasing hammer, and we're going to flatten this loop just a little bit. We don't want to over flatten it, just enough to give it a little bit of a flat surface for the light to reflect off of. It just creates a little interest. And there you can see I've got that, and you can see the light shining on that. I'm also going to hammer this little loop on this side, just to give it some rigidity so it doesn't pull apart. So there you can see that's nice and hammered. The loop is nice and closed up. And there I've completed one link. So now you're going to do this 9 more times for a 6-inch bracelet. If you want it longer, you need to add 1 piece of 20 gauge wire for every 5/8 of an inch of bracelet you want and 1 Labradorite bead. Now with the magic of video editing, I've done the other 9 links off camera, and here they are all completed. So now our next step is going to be, we're going to grab that 18 gauge piece of wire that was cut at 4.5 centimeters in length and our looping pliers. And we're going to grab the tail end of this wire between the 2 and 3 millimeter barrels. Just flush right there. You can see that it's nice and flush between those 2 barrels. And then we're going to wrap this wire around that 2 millimeter barrel. Again, we're going to make sure the tail end of that wire meets back up with itself. So we're going to move that around a little bit just so we can get that last little bit tightened up against the wire there. Now we're going to remove that loop off of the mandrel and we're going to place it between the 4 and 5 millimeter barrels with the loop over the 4 millimeter barrel. We're going to push the tail end of this wire around the 5 millimeter barrel. We're going to bring the tail end of that wire all the way around until it crosses back over. And we're making a little figure 8 or a snowman, whichever way you want to look at it, until it crosses over just right up even with your smaller loop up there, the opposite side of your smaller loop. Now with my chain nose pliers, I'm going to grab the right side of my loop. So right here, I'm grabbing that top right side of the tail end of the wire of that loop. And I'm going to back it up about 2 millimeters from where that smaller loop is. Then we're going to bend the tail end of this wire back around away from our piece, like so. Now with our looping pliers, I'm going to insert my looping pliers back in so that I'm on my 5mm mandrel, and just make sure the shape is still good here. Bending that tail end of the wire, sometimes it will pull that loop back out a bit. We just want to make sure it's nice and tight like it's supposed to be. Now I'm going to grab my flush cutters, and we are going to flush cut the end of this wire. And I'm going to flush cut it right where that wire starts pointing away from our piece. So we're just having just a slight bend at the end of this little clasp or hook, or whichever you want to call it. And that just leaves almost a centimeter of length left on the end of our wire. And there you can see our clasp and how that looks. And now I'm going to grab that cup burr. Like I said earlier, this has like a little cup on the end of it, and you can place that little cup over the end of your wire. And what this does, once you start twisting it, is it kind of shaves off the burr end of your wire, the burred end. That's why it's called a cup burr. It's a little cup that goes over the end of the wire and removes any burrs in your wires. And it just rounds off the end of that wire into a nice, smooth, rounded end there. And there you can see, I've got the little bits of wire just coming off of there. And it just smooths it out really nicely. If you don't have a cut burr, you can use a file, and I'm going to show you here in just a minute. And that's all that takes. It's all nice and smooth now. But I'm going to show you how you can use a file in case you don't have that. So you just take your file and you just go around that little edge and just file off the burr, just as you would if you had a cut burr. And you just keep doing that until it feels nice and smooth around your edge and there's not anything to catch on sweaters or anything like that. And there you can see that completed clasp. So next we're going to grab the bench block and the chasing hammer. And we're just going to give a couple little taps on this, just enough to kind of firm up that little clasp so that it's nice and firm and doesn't pull apart very easily. Now I'm going to test my little hook here. And I feel like it's just a little too loose. I don't want it to be so loose that that clasp is going to come undone too easily. So I want it to be tight enough where it does take a little, almost like a little click to get through there. So here you can see it just kind of clicks in and then clicks back out. You don't want it to be too hard where you struggle to get it on and off, but you want it enough where it's not going to just slip right out. Okay, so next we're going to grab one of our links in the chain nose pliers, and we're going to open up the small little loop at the end. And we're going to twist it to the side. We're not going to pull it out. If you pull it out, you'll misshape your loop. So always twist it to the side. Grab another link and ensure that your link is, the back side is facing you when you pop it on top of that loop. If the loop is opened up toward you on top like that, you need the back of it to face you. That way they're all facing the right direction. And then we're going to twist the loop back closed. And there we've attached our first two links together. And you can see, look at that beautiful Labradorite shine there. You can see the light refracting off inside of these Labradorite stones. And now we're going to open up this smaller loop again, twisting it out to the side, grabbing another link, ensuring that the back side of your link is facing up. Pop that onto your loop. Grab your chain nose pliers and twist that little loop back closed. And now we've got 3 links. And now, with the magic of video editing, I will have the entire piece finished besides the clasp. And here you can see all of that done. So now all we need to do is add our clasp onto the end of this. So with the smaller loop, we're going to grab the chain nose pliers, open our loop. So twisting it open to the side. We're going to grab our clasp and we're just going to pop that clasp right on the end of that loop. Just like that. And then we're going to grab the chain nose pliers and twist that loop back closed. And once that loop is all closed up, our clasp is attached. And we do not need to add a jump ring on the other end of this unless you want to add a little extra length for comfort, because the little loops or the bigger loops that we made act as our jump ring. So here I'm going to show you what this looks like while it's on and how easily this goes on. So here I'm clasping this on. And it just goes right on just like that. And didn't this turn out so beautifully? I think Labradorite is one of my favorite semi-precious stones. I sure hope y'all enjoyed watching this video. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of this project. All feedback is welcome. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up if you did like this video. This just lets YouTube know that you enjoyed my content, and in turn, YouTube will push these videos out to even more creative people like yourself. If you haven't already and you'd like to see more of my tutorials, then click that subscribe button. It's free. And by subscribing to my channel, you can be notified when a new tutorial is up for you to view. Thank you guys for your continued support. I sure do appreciate each and every one of you. Remember, I will not be on for the next 2 weeks due to the holiday, but I will be back in the new year. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in 2026.
My copper